Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another
Hello.
edition of Paranormal Swamp Talk. I'm your host, Howard Petrie, along with host Miss my I don't know. I got both of my wives on here. I got my podcast wife, the Listen Queen, Miss Chrissy Baggett, and my on paper wife, Jackie.
Thank you.
Word.
And tonight we are joined
Heard
with a special
something
host.
better than that. Good Lord, sir.
She don't. She just told you she don't listen to me half the time, so she probably didn't even hear that. So she's good.
I heard that.
but I heard it.
We all heard it.
This is what I deal with.
Get it
Dealing with
together.
these people. This is not good. And tonight we're joined with a special host, PDX herself, Miss Emily McKenzie.
Hey, everybody.
And tonight we have a very special guest on tonight. He is from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is an occultist. He has some family relations to Charles Manson. Okay. And his name is Mr. James Dawson. Mr. Dawson, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Glad to be here.
And I guess we're going to jump right into it. Charlie Manson. What do you know about the man? No, I'm joking.
Well, what do you want to know?
Okay, we can go on different subjects tonight. We're going to go on some different topics. We're going to talk about the murders. We're going to talk about his Charles Manson himself, the person, the conspiracies that's surrounding Charles Manson. So there's going to be a lot of things we're going to touch bases on. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Mr. Dawson, also please put them in the chats, and we'll get it out to him. He'll see it, and we can share it with him.
I just want to say real quick, though. Hi, Collie. I love you. Hi, Red. Love you.
So we actually had people coming in the show before the show started. And I want to get these people out there. That's the Canadian Witch. These are all YouTubers. Christine Bell, and that's PDX herself. And then there's Mr. Dawson. And of course, we have, without Emmy, you're going to have, J Mac himself. He's going to be in there. We got Willow the Crypto Cat. Hello, Joanne. I got my two wives and my mistress. That's my mistress right there, Miss Peterson. We got the Mr. Anthony himself, Texas Wraith Chaser, Jace Hunter. Yeah, that's it. Anita, how you doing, Anita? So let's see. I'm gonna go down and see. Oh, there you go. There's my beautiful sister-in-law.
And J Max claiming forced labor.
I told him, I'm like, hey, you need to get in there. He's going live. You're the only mod in there.
Oh, hey, I was corrected. Now it's the Texas Wraith Hunters. Sorry, Anthony.
Don't do it. Don't. Yeah, he did it, Chrissy.
And
What?
Beth
Held up
Plant.
his hand.
How you doing, Beth? If you don't know anybody
Not bad.
here, you will.
Yeah,
That's it.
I know Beth. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. So let's see. Let's talk about Charles Manson, the person, the person who he was. We touched a little bit about this earlier on a private chat, you and myself. He wasn't. I mean, people made him look like he was the most evil person walking on the face of the earth. And that's far from the truth. I mean, if you go back, and that's one of the conspiracy theories out there. If you want to place him, he wasn't at the murders. He didn't talk anybody into doing anything. So, what can you tell us about him, James?
Well, first, if you want to know who Charlie really was as a human being, I suggest picking up a copy of this book. It's called Reflection. It's by the wonderful Lynette Fromey. She was known as Squeaky and Red. And this is actually the only woman that Charlie ever loved, but he was so scared to tell her. You have to understand that Charlie was brought up in a home when Charlie was born. Do you know what his birth certificate said?
Hello world.
No name Maddox.
No name Maddox. Wow.
Oh wow.
He never knew who his real father was. He was adopted. The Manson name was an adopted name. Now, you have to understand when I say this, that when I say what I'm about to say is Charlie was not part of this world, this world. When I say this, I mean part of society. Charlie's history is growing up in institutions. His mother committed robbery, and at one point she even sold him for a pack of cigarettes and a Coke and kept the change.
Wow.
So Charlie, over the years, he was passed around from Kentucky to Ohio to Virginia, and then back to Kentucky. And it was actually in Kentucky when he was living with his Uncle Jess that he learned the value of the earth. His Uncle Jess installed to him that if you take care of the earth is going to take care of you. And that's what this shirt means. Atwa, air, trees, water, and animals. And it also means for all the way alive. We can't be all the way alive if we don't take care of our air, our trees, our water, and our animals. And this was an actual ecological movement that Charlie had, but you people didn't know about it. And if you've read Helter Skelter, you'll read that they were arrested for destroying an earth-moving machine. But what you don't know is that earth-moving machine was tearing up sacred Indian land. Charlie had a strong connection to Indians. But Charlie, growing up, and the life that he had, he did have a fear of abandonment and rejection. And he could never physically tell anybody he loved them because he was afraid if they did, they'd abandon him. Just like his mother, just like his Uncle Jess, just like everybody in his life. And Charlie made a real connection with the people, his friends. There was no Manson family. That was something the media created for their mass hysteria that they sold to you. And Charlie knew how to manipulate the media because let's say he's doing an interview and you knew Charlie was going to be on there. So Charlie's going to reflect back what the media projected him was as back in 1969 as a crazy cult leader. And that's what you're tuning in to see. So that's what he's going to give you is the crazy cult leader. But if you've had actual conversations with Charlie, they're full on straight, intelligent conversations.
I heard he was a very intelligent person.
He was very intelligent and he was very in tune with the law. During the whole trial, he was actually examined by someone that's on the Bar Association. And the person that examined him made the determination that this man is competent enough to be his own attorney. That's how in tune he is with the law because he's lived the life, his whole life in the system. Mm-hmm. But he had a real connection to his friends. They were friends. That's all they were. They were friends. Red, for example, she had a really tough time and she was kicked out. Blue, Sandra Good. Now, this story actually breaks my heart with Blue. Blue's mother didn't want her. And when Blue was born, she had respiratory problems. And her mother would practically torture her with these surgeries. And by the time Blue was 8 months old, she already had to have part of her lung removed. And Blue's mother looked at her one day and she told her, she said, every time you were on that operating table, I prayed you would die. Susan Atkins, Sadie. I know a lot of people have opinions about Sadie, but Sadie did not kill anyone. What you don't know about Sadie was her mother died when she was very young. And Sadie was tossed around between her brother, her grandfather, and her father being constantly molested. So, I mean, he had a real connection with these people because, like he was a throwaway kid. So and Charlie, I'm going to share a little story. This was told to me on someone's deathbed. The first time Charlie ever, and it makes me emotional, I'm sorry. The first time Charlie ever experienced unconditional love was Mary Bruner, Mother Mary, had a dog named Moppy. And this dog loved Charlie. Like, this dog could know what Charlie was thinking and knew what, vice versa. After the raid at Spawn Ranch over some bullshit, it got to the point where Charlie couldn't take care of the dog. So he gets in a car, tears are streaming down his face. He pulls into a Burger King parking lot and begs this woman to take this dog that he couldn't care for it anymore. That's the one time that he's ever experienced unconditional love.
Wow. Well, I know he did. I had a lady I talked to. Charlie was from West Virginia, and she was born in the same. Matter of fact, not too far away, probably a stone's throw from Charlie. She lived in the hollers. She said, I don't know where Charlie lived, but she lived in the hollers. And I said, you might have a little Manson blood in you. And she said, no. I got Hatfield and McCoy in me. And that's it. So, okay.
And I saw earlier that, it was hard to believe that Charlie sang and did music. And the thing about that is Charlie had so many opportunities to be a rock star, but he didn't want that life. And of course, if you've read Helter Skelter, Vincent Bugliosi turns this whole thing around that Charlie wanted to be bigger than the Beatles and start this race war and all this stuff. And the only way he can get his music out was to start the race, Well, that's not the case. In fact, if Charlie had any animosity against anyone, it was the Beach Boys. This album here, it came out in 1970. This is the official version. You can't get it anymore on CD. But it has a song on there. It was recorded by Terry Melcher and Dennis Wilson. And Phil Kaufman, a friend of Charlie's, paid for the $5,000 the Beach Boys promised Charlie in return for the song to get the tapes. This is considered the only actual album that Charlie worked on besides the stuff he did in jail. And if you'll notice, it says "Lie." Do you know why it says "Lie"?
Informers.
Because this is the Life magazine cover, and it's a mocking of the Life magazine cover. And the Life magazine cover called Charlie and His Friends the Love and Terror Cult. That's a lie. The charge of multiple murders, that's a lie. Charles Manson, their leader, that's a lie. He never led anybody. If Charlie was a cult leader, he was a piss poor one because he never stayed at Spawn Ranch. He was too busy off in the desert where he loved. That's where he wanted to live. He had no idea of who came and went at Spawn. And then you get into the conspiracy theories that he used to control these people with acid. He would take half a tab and have them do their little orgies and all this. That is not true. In fact, Linda Kasabian, the star witness, in her testimony, the whole time she had been at Spawn Ranch, she'd only dropped acid with the so-called family one time. That makes a very piss poor cult leader. And what Vincent doesn't know is, he didn't know it at the time, that the ordinary person from 69 to 71, I'm just going to say this, from 69 to 71, didn't have access to the police reports. They didn't have access to the interviews. They didn't have access to anything outside what the media was telling them and what the book told them. But all of this stuff is public information now. Any ordinary person can go and look at it.
Now,
In fact, Linda Kasabian told her attorney that she didn't even know what Helter Skelter meant. What are you talking about? When Vincent Bugliosi brought this to her, Neither one of them had heard of Helter Skelter or this race war.
And that's something you told me, you informed me about. If anybody looks up the word helter skelter, look it up and see what its true meaning is. I mean, you'll see its true meaning.
And Vincent Bugliosi used a conspiracy to convict Charlie. And that conspiracy is called vicarious responsibility. He was able to tie Helter Skelter, Charlie using Helter Skelter in its literal definition as applied to the race war. Because Charlie used Helter, and he even says in his jury testimony, well, lack of jury, because Charlie wasn't allowed to defend himself. He specifically says Helter Skelter means confusion.
Right. And if anything, if you want to talk about Helter Skelter with what happened right after the elections and all that stuff and all these cities and everything, that was all Helter Skelter.
And Helter Skelter is still coming down, even to this day.
So we're going to get this out in the open right now. No matter, unforgettable to stand by and let a pregnant woman getting slaughtered, her and her baby. You want to answer that?
I do. Charlie did not know what went down that night. Contrary to what people believe, and I will play a clip of Sharon Tate's mother admitting that Charlie had nothing to do with the murders and he was not responsible for the death of her daughter. Tex Watson took responsibility for all of that because that's what he thought Charlie wanted. What it boiled down to is this, and this is the truth. What happened was, in May of 1969, Sadie Mae Glutz, Susan Atkins, ripped off some drug dealers, and they were fixing to kill her. So Charlie had to defuse a situation. He had to get into a situation that didn't have anything to do with him, and he had to defuse it. July the 1st, Tex Watson decides to rip off a drug dealer and steal over $18,000 worth in today's money over marijuana. Tex left his girlfriend, we'll call her Gold. This woman's still alive today, as collateral. Tex goes in the apartment building, runs out the back door with the money. This man's name was Bernard Crowe. Bernard Crowe takes this girl back to his apartment, ties her up. He calls Spawn Ranch. TJ Wallerman answers the phone, and there's this man on the phone shouting that he's fixing to come to Spawn Ranch with his crew and kill all the women, the children, everybody out there. He wanted his money. TJ handed the phone to Charlie, because the guy that called was asking for Charles. And TJ did not know that Tex Watson's name was Charles. That was his real name. So he hands the phone to Charlie, and Charlie's like, wait a minute now. You're not hurting my friends. Let's talk about this. So he gets the address, and he and TJ go to Bernard Crowe's. When he gets there, Bernard has a sword pulled to the girl's neck, and she's screaming that he's fixing to decapitate me. And Bernard makes the threat that he's fixing to go after this. His crew is going to go and rape the women at Spawn and kill the children. And Charlie's like, he takes his gun, he puts it in his hands, and he says, you're going to have to kill me first. And I'm telling you this because this is what led up to the Tate murders, okay? Bernard makes an advance on Charlie, and Charlie shoots him. Charlie thinks, oh, God, I've just killed somebody because of Tex Watson. And the next day on the news, it is on broadcast that a body of a member of the Black Panther Party was found. Charlie's freaking out like, oh, God, they're going to come. They're coming. So he goes and he enlists the straight Satans to come in and help protect his friends. Tex gets back. Charlie gives him a good lashing. I want people to understand Charlie was not a violent person. He really wasn't. And unless he was put into situations where he had to defend himself or someone he loved, he would become violent. And he gave Tex a good lashing. Tex on his way, and a couple of days later, Tex comes back. Well, while the Straight Satans are there, it's their 10-year anniversary, and they give Bobby Beausoleil some money to go buy some drugs, some acid. So Bobby goes to his friend that he lived with, Gary Hinman, and he takes Mother Mary Bruner, with him. And it's still unclear as to why Sadie went, but I don't think it's not really relevant until you get to the Hinman trial. But Bobby goes there, gets the drugs, he brings them back to the Straight Satans. And they're bad. It was supposed to have been acid, but it was this new drug that was coming out as MDA. Straight Satans take it. They flip out. Everybody at Spawn Ranch thought their bodies were on fire, all of this shit. I mean, they were literally considering jumping in the fire to stop their bodies from burning. That's how bad of a freak out it was. So the next day, the leader of the Straight Satans pulls Bobby aside and beats the hell out of him. He says, "You go get my money back. Those are bad drugs." Bobby takes Mother Mary with him again because Mary and Gary have more of a casual relationship than Bobby and Gary did, even though Bobby lived with him for a while. Well, fight took place. Gary pulls a gun on Bobby. Charlie's called. Charlie walks in. The gun's still pulled on Bobby, and he slashes Gary on the side of the face to defuse the situation. Bobby and Gary and Charlie exchanged words, and Charlie said something like, "Well, if you don't have the money to give them back, just sign over your vehicles." So Gary signs over his 2 vehicles to Bobby so they could take them to the Straight Satans and sell them and get their money back. That didn't work out well because next thing after Charlie left, Gary's fixing to go to the police and report Charlie, report Bobby, report Mother Mary, and say the vehicles are stolen. So Bobby didn't have any other choice but killing. And what stuck out in Bobby's mind was there was a burglar, and Vincent Bugliosi puts this off on Charles Manson as the creepy Carls, but there was an actual burglar when he would break in the homes of the Hollywood elite. He would rearrange the furniture, and he would leave writing in red on the walls. And that stuck real heavy in Bobby's mind. So, and then he looks around Gary's apartment, and he sees that there's all kinds of communist literature around. So he had a thought, political piggy, and that's what he wrote on the wall. Now we come to Linda Kasabian showing up at Spawn Ranch on July the 4th. She automatically sleeps with Tex Watson. Those two have been circulating in circles and knew each other for a while anyway. She automatically sleeps with Tex. Now, Linda had a mutual friend with her husband, and Tex convinces her to steal $5,000 so they can just go away. She agrees. She has, I'm not going to name this person, drive to the trailer they were living in. She goes in, steals the money, and comes back. Well, Robert Kasabian and the friend comes back to Spawn Ranch because they knew where Lynn was at. And they demand the money back. Charlie didn't know what was going on. So here's another situation Tex Watson has created, and he's brought this other girl into it. Linda's running around, "Charlie, you got to hide me. You got to hide me. They're going to kill me." And Charlie's like, "Just give them the money back. Be done with it." They got the money, and they left. Well, after this incident, Bobby gets arrested for the murder of Gary Hinman. He's driving Gary's car. Even though the pink slip's signed over to Bobby, he gets arrested. It's really unsure who made the call. We know Bobby called, but it's really it's really unsure as to who told Charlie that Bobby was in jail. When Charlie heard this, we have to go back to the Beach Boys. When there's a song that Charlie recorded in this session that's called "Cease to Exist." The Beach Boys really dug it, so they covered it. They asked for permission to cover it, and they offered Charlie $5,000. Well, at the time, Charlie really didn't care that much about the money, but his brother was in jail. So he goes to Dennis Wilson, and he has a bullet. He did have a bullet just in his hand. They screwed Charlie out of the money that they owed him, the Beach Boys did, because one, they changed the title of the song. Two, they reworded the lyrics. So they didn't owe Charlie shit. So Charlie takes the bullet, chunks it at Wilson, and he says, you either pay me what you owe me or I'm going to pay you what you owe me. And he leaves. He gets back out to Spawn. He pulls Sadie aside. He pulls Linda and Tex aside. And he pulls it was those three. He said, Sadie, you remember those drug dealers who saved your life? Linda, you know that situation. And Tex, you know I killed a man for you. You owe me. And you go and you pay my brother what you owe me, or I'm going to pay you what you owe me. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what it is. But get my brother out of jail. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to be a part of any conspiracy. Just get him out. Get him out now. Well, there's a conversation that takes place, and some of the people at Spawn are there, and they're all talking. Lulu, Leslie Van Houten, she comes up and she says, well, why don't we just get an attorney? Katie, Patricia Krenwinkel says, should we just get an attorney? He's just going to lie and take our money, and we don't have any money. Linda, man, I would do anything to get my brother out of jail. Maybe if we create copycat killings, they'll make the police think they got the wrong person. And Linda goes and she asked somebody I knew very well. She said, would you go with us to kill someone? No, I don't want no part of that. No. Well, these people ripped me off on drugs. And, we can get the money and just what little money we can, and we can just make this look like Bobby did. The killings are still going on. These revolutionary killings are still going on. No part of that. So Patricia Krenwinkel once stated that when that thought came to be to create the copycat killings, they got in the car and made that thought to be an action. Linda chose the Tate house because she had been burned on drugs, and they humiliated her on it. Tex Watson agreed to that house. And see, what you guys don't know is Tex Watson actually lived at 150 Cielo Drive. He lived there with Terry Melcher, Candace Bergen, Mark Lindsay of Paul Revere and the Raiders, and Dean Morehouse. Tex lived there for about 6 months, so he did know the outline of the house, as did Linda, because she had been there to purchase drugs from Wojciech Frykowski. But that's how the Tate murders happened. That is the truth.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how did you hear about all of this? I'm just curious. Like, a lot of people are probably wondering, how do you know what really happened? How well do you know Charlie?
Well enough to have actual conversations with Charlie.
He's a family member.
Cult member. It's a cult member.
Not the cult part.
How many times have you met Charlie in person?
I've met Charlie several times, and this was when he was in Cochran Prison. And at Cochran Prison, you weren't allowed physical contact. It was through glass.
Okay.
And not to cut you off, Mr. Dawson, but we have someone who just came in. That's Mr. Scotty. Now he's too ugly, Wilson. Usually it's too hotty. Scotty, you there, brother? Or you might be getting an anal probe.
Make sure you get 2 fingers to get that second opinion.
He was in the hospital. He went into the hospital, and they kept him ever since. So asked him if he felt up to it, he can come on tonight and let everybody know how he's feeling and when his.
I've been telling Scotty if he wants to go home, he gotta get well. He gotta poop. He ain't pooping enough.
That's the only way they release you. Yeah, you gotta poop.
Gotta poop a lot.
Ask for one specimen. That's the only ask for.
I'm not sure I understand your question, Angela. I have a question. Why did the sisters that were supposedly Manson's follower get no charges that got let off? I'm not sure what your question is. Because
She's asking why did the sisters get off when they supposedly did what they did?
Nikki said hi, Jason.
I still don't understand.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Because you have to understand that they all considered themselves brothers and sisters. They were a family. They, like I said earlier, there was no Manson family. They were a family, and there's a family of people that
Loved each other.
Nobody, their parents didn't want them. And the sad truth of the reality is, Charlie didn't teach these kids to do what they did. Those kids were doing what they did before he even came around. It was middle class Americans who went in those homes and killed those people, not Charlie. In fact, after the murders, what you don't understand or you don't know this is, right after Charlie said that to Tex, Linda, and Sadie, he got in his little car and he took off and he got arrested in Venice Beach. He spent the night in jail when the murders happened. He didn't learn about it until the next day, and Tex Watson comes and tells him what they did. And Charlie was not happy. He was not happy because he had already told him, I don't want any part of it. Hi, Scotty.
What up, bro?
Yep. I told
How's everybody doing?
Scotty had to come on tonight too, because he's like my wife. They like the murder porn and stuff like that. So,
Scotty, what you at, a toga party?
Say what? I'm having a party. I asked the nurses to give me another sponge bath. They won't do it. They said they ain't got no soap that small. So, kind of upset.
Tell them to get the liquid soap out. That's what you want, the liquid soap.
Well, I told them I wanted the soap on the rope and I could drop it every now and again. And they weren't doing that.
What
I'm
you
like,
gotta
well,
do,
you got.
Scotty, listen, you get your pen or a pencil by your bed, and whenever they come in there, you throw it on the ground and be like, "Oh, can you pick that up for me?" You know,
Ooh, I like that idea. Ooh.
Okay, we got a question here for James. And I want to actually want you to talk about this. I don't care how much I love someone without some type of mental manipulation. There's not many people that would take a knife to their own forehead. I guess he's talking about that.
The X's.
They're saying that it's the swastika on his forehead.
The girls never had a swastika. Never had a swastika. I don't know where that rumor came from. Just like I don't know where the rumor came from that Red slept with George Spahn. That never happened. But the X on the forehead, they were targets. They were targets. So they just go ahead, do what you got to do. You've already crucified us through the media. Do what you got to do to us. We're down. We give the system up. That's what the X's were, because they were targets.
Now Charles didn't. Everybody, to me, I say the same thing. I perceived it as a swastika on his forehead, and it's not a swastika.
It is not a swastika. Actually, I have a phone conversation between me and Charlie on my channel where he's explaining the image between his eyes, and it is actually from the Navajo mythology of the whirling log. That's where he got it from. Of course, people apply that to Hitler, and that was Hitler's trip. That trip has nothing to do with Charlie. There was not a racist bone in Charlie's body. If anything, if Charles Manson was alive today, he would be on the side of Black Lives Matter. If he hated a race, he hated being white. He apologized numerous times when he was asked about the sympathy for the murders and stuff. The only thing he's ever apologized is for being a white man, having done what white people have done to minorities. And if you actually listen to Charlie talk on race relations and you read the comments of these little clips that people post, many people of color are agreeing with what he's saying because it's true.
Just misinformed people. That's all.
The media and the book.
Let's put it this way. I mean, the way a lot of this stuff, and I've seen the evidence, and I've looked into it myself, and it's like today's society. The media will fabricate anything and everything for a story. Okay. And this is what's happened with this. It's just so happens it happened at the time when these unfortunately, all these murders occurred and stuff like that.
There was a motive for this book. President Nixon already had Charlie convicted. The media already had Charlie convicted. If you look up the letter that Bugliosi wrote to the publisher, it was promising all of the details, including this is the first book in history to ever have crime scene photos. And this was promised in there. And Bugliosi knew that if Charlie walked free, and he used the real motive, and the real motive was the love of brother motive. And that is in the book. And he admits that if he used that motive, Charlie would have walked away free. Even even his colleagues at the district attorney's office told them, don't come around here with this helter-skelter bullshit. And Doris Tate never bought it. Doris Tate, in fact, she was thankful for the conviction because there wasn't enough evidence to convict Tex and Katie. Like I said, Sadie never killed anyone. She didn't have it in her to kill anyone. But the night of the Tate murders, Sadie said something very interesting that's always stuck out. Now, Sadie created a diversion to make it look like Sharon was fighting with her, and Tex stabs her in the heart. Well, Sadie, when they're leaving, Sadie, none of them knew where Linda was at. But she noticed that there was a big clump of blood that's on the porch. And Tex threatens Sadie, and he tells her, you go back, you write something in blood. So she goes back in, and she looks at Sharon Tate, and the way Sharon's laying, she's noticed that she's more cut up than she was than when Sadie saw her, because Tex just did a stab to the heart. That was the fatal wound. Linda Kasabian was told to stay outside because, one, she had been there numerous times to buy drugs. And I'm not victim shaming. These are facts. And two, just in case somebody tried to escape.
Well, here you go. Butter Chicken has a question for you. And we call her Butter Chicken because she actually blew up a microwave while cooking chicken. This is the question she has for you. Hey, lovey, just stared and just started. I guess started watching. Sorry, James. What are you talking about? I'm from Australia.
Hi, Nikki. We're talking about Charles Manson. And the Tate LaBianca murders and what really happened.
Yeah, and that's what Gabriel just asked about that.
I'm fixing to get to the LaBianca murders. Now, the second night of murders, Charlie was in the car, but Charlie did not tie anybody up. Charlie walked next door to a friend's house, it was known as the True residence, Harold True. It was a friend that Charlie knew from Phil Kaufman. And Phil Kaufman, someone that I know, he was a big manager for some major bands, the Rolling Stones, Graham Parsons, Emmylou Harris, the Byrds, Buffalo Springfield. Charlie, when they pull up outside the lobby, technically Linda chose that house too, but I'm fixing to get to that. Charlie goes to the True house to see if Harold's home. And if you read Linda's testimony, he comes up and he comes back down. Well, while he's gone to Harold True's house, Tex Watson takes Katie and Lulu to the LaBiancas. Charlie had no idea that anybody had even moved into that house. Because if you read Helter Skelter, it specifically states that the LaBiancas didn't move in until November of 1968. Charlie and his friends had already moved out to Spawn Ranch. So they go in, Charlie gets back in the car, and then Tex comes running out, and he's got Rosemary LaBianca's wallet. He hands it to Linda. When they leave, Charlie he tells Linda, he said, get rid of that. That's hot. We don't need that on us. He told Linda to put it in the toilet, but Bugliosi wants you to believe that it was a black neighborhood, and it wasn't a black neighborhood. In 1970, it only had 1% black population. Linda goes and puts it in the toilet. And when Charlie was asked this, his answer was, well, when you've spent your life in jail, everything goes in the toilet. And the rest of that is pretty much history. But I will say,
he's getting his sponge bath. He
Yeah.
left.
But Charlie he wasn't there for the LaBiancas, and he did say something. He did tell him, like, if you're going to do something, don't let them know that you're going to, don't install fear in them. He did tell him that, but he did not command or order anybody to be killed.
How true was the movie?
Which one?
There's numerous movies made about it.
Are you talking about the original Helter Skelter movie?
Yeah.
What I found, I actually have that movie, and I have the remake that came out in 2004, which makes Linda Kasabian looks like a saint. But they leave out because what you guys don't know is Charlie was not allowed, like I said earlier, to defend himself. 2, he was not allowed to testify in front of the jury. Why, you ask? This is actually going to be coming out on my channel. I was able to access the tapes. Vincent Bugliosi had a psychologist and a psychiatrist argue that Charles Manson had hypnotic powers, and if he testified in front of the jury, he would convince them that he was innocent. So they leave out key parts when Charlie's on Steve Railsback's on the stand testifying. They leave out key moments that are essential to really knowing what's happening. But they do leave in the statement where Charlie specifically says everything these children did, they did for the love of their brother.
There's a couple of questions still in chat. What about supposedly the ranch is still there?
No, Spawn Ranch burned down in 71 or 72 or during the wildfires. But a dear friend of mine does take care of the property out of his own pocket. And he does give tours.
What about the movie about Sharon Tate?
The Haunting of Sharon Tate? Is that the one?
I'm not sure. I'm just reading chat on YouTube side.
Now, I do want to touch on that movie, actually, if that's the one. I'm trying to find it. I've got a huge collection. Is this the one you're talking about, Angela? The Haunting of Sharon Tate? Because if that's it, it's interesting if anybody wants to. The acting is horrible. Hilary Duff plays Sharon Tate. But it's interesting in the paranormal perspective. The writer of this movie actually took conversations that Sharon was having with her mother and some of her friends about some of the things that was going on in that house. Her dialogue is direct conversations about Roman having his affairs, Abigail and Wojciech, letting people come in and they were having orgies. Hi, Patty.
Where's she at? I didn't even see her.
She just
She's
came
Oh,
in.
there it is. There's
Yeah.
the G team. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Hey, Patty.
But
Sorry
if
you
that's,
wasn't feeling well.
if that's the movie you're talking about, Angela, it's and what's also interesting about this is way before, it's about 1967, early 68, and Deborah Tate argues that it never happened, but Marie Claire actually pulled up the interview. Sharon did an interview with Marie Claire, and in that interview, she states that she had premonitions of being murdered. And of course, Deborah Tate's like, that's not true. That's never true. So to counter it, they pulled up that interview she did and may have made it public. And in that premonition, you'll see it in the movie. And if you read the interview, it also involved rope.
That's crazy.
Like I said, it's taken from the paranormal perspective. I don't want to ruin it. Like I said, the acting is just horrible. because it's Hillary
Yeah,
Duff
man. Yeah,
playing
there
a
you go.
Sharon Tate.
That said enough right there, right?
Like a Nickelodeon girl.
Yeah,
Nickelodeon.
if you want to check it out, it's interesting, and she actually portrayed Sharon more than that girl who played her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was I found interesting. But Deborah had pretty much damned Hillary Duff, but praised this other girl.
So where is Charlie's he's buried? Is that still undisclosed? Or
That's still a undisclosed location.
Okay.
I will say it was in the desert.
Well, I know, like, on Netflix, there's this thing called Dark Tourism.
Yeah,
In episode 7, they had
that's
the
my
one
friend that
gentleman-
takes care of Spawn Ranch.
Okay, Stoner, right? That was
Stoner,
his
Bruce.
name. Okay, yep. So, and I thought that was really interesting because everybody went there, they paid their respects to Charlie, and that's to me. They said,
That's what's called the family jams, and what you don't see on the camera is there's actual family. Their family is there. I mean, like the people that were there, they're there, but for personal reasons, we don't want to be on camera,
right?
especially on a TV show like Dark Tourist.
Yeah.
But that's the family jams, and it's a day to come in, and it's to celebrate Charlie's life. I mean, because he's such this horrible person, but you talk to people that knew Charlie, and Bruce, for example, Bruce Stoner. Charlie kept Bruce out of prison. Bruce was headed down a very bad path, and Charlie helped straighten him out. But of course,
that's really good.
And David, well, Tony, that one is debatable. Howard and I had a debate on that one. That is debatable because, I know spirits travel, but the location is nowhere near the original Cielo Drive house. I mean, I'll just put it that way. If you look at an aerial view of 1969 and you look at an aerial view of today where David's house is, it's nowhere near the property. His selling point.
Thank you, J Mac.
His selling point.
I think the one thing I found interesting was when Charlie died. You know, the media said the world's most dangerous man, and I don't know if I would say Charlie was the world's dangerous man. You know, for me, I would not agree with that because when I look at somebody else like, of course, Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, to me, they would be more dangerous. Charlie was just a man, and he had his followers, and that's it. There wasn't, and nothing bad. I don't want to say nothing bad, but he had his followers. That would not make him a dangerous man.
They weren't really followers. That's a misconception. They weren't followers. They were family in the aspect of like, I call you my brother, and I call Chrissy my podcast wife, and I call Emmy, and
Emmy, she's my sister. She's my sister.
Emmy. So I was going to ask, you know how a lot of people talk about the Sharon Tate house?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know that guy's name.
David
Oman.
David Oman.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Is that really where Sharon Tate's house was?
No. His selling point is the gate. Now, I've talked to some YouTubers that have been there, and he has convinced them the gate. That is not the original gate. The original gate to the Cielo Drive house is 150 feet behind it. In fact, if you look at the aerial views of 1969, it was just a little iron gate. And it was right in the curve. When you went in, you just turned and you were right there at the house. I mean, it had no driveway whatsoever. But his selling point is the gate. And I have heard him say in other YouTubers' videos is that his house was part of that property. That's not true. If you look at like I said, the aerial footages of 1969, you will see that empty space between the cot house. There's the cot house, empty house, and then the other person's house. I can't remember who lived there. But his house is in the center. He had it built in the center. And
Well, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, James, but let's think about this on a paranormal aspect.
right. Yeah, I get
So
that.
when you're talking about haunted area and haunted land, even though the building is no longer there, you can still have spirits and activity on that general vicinity of the land. It doesn't
They
have
travel.
to be,
They
it
can
Right.
travel.
doesn't have to be square pinpoint where the house originally was. Because back then when it was where she lived, I mean, how close are we talking in vicinity? Are we talking
It's
feet?
not as close as it looks.
Okay, so explain to me. Tell me.
If you were to park at where the original gate, where the gate is now, it is a
Okay.
10-minute walk from the gate to where the original gate was at.
Okay.
What he's doing is he's saying that his property was part of the original property, but it's not. And his selling point is the gate that's there, the gate that is seen in the film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is not the original gate.
So what you're saying is you're not saying that there couldn't be activity there. You're just saying that
I'm not saying that there couldn't be activity there.
Yeah, he's giving false pretense though.
That's what I'm saying. He's giving false pretenses.
But we don't know that. I mean, we can't say.
Well, he
Clearly
claims that
that
it's
it's-
Sharon. He claims that it's Sharon and it's Abigail and it's Jay and it's Wojciech Frykowski. But from what, if we die, if we're a horrible person when we die, are we still going to be a horrible being, entity after we die?
Typically speaking,
Yeah,
yes.
yes.
Okay, if that is true, then why are these people that supposedly haunting this house all good? Because if you read the actual police reports, like from Dennis Hopper, Michelle Phillips, who was having an affair with Roman while Sharon was pregnant,
Right.
Roman was disgusted at Sharon because she was growing more and more pregnant. Everybody thinks that Roman loves Sharon and all this. But if you read the actual police reports when these actors and musicians were questioned, and it lines up with the evidence that was found, they were not some of the greatest people. Dennis Hopper stated, and I can pull up the police quote, it stated that everyone in that house had gotten into bestiality. They filmed the orgies, and the police, it's admitted in Helter Skelter that those tapes were found.
Okay.
But and they were not very nice people, because at this particular party and Dennis and Michelle went to, they had a man tied to the pole by the swimming pool, whipping him completely nude for burning Jay Sebring on drugs. So if we die, why are these spirits awful nice now?
Well, I've never been on site, so I can't speak to whether they're good spirits or bad spirits.
Right.
And I'm
Now,
not.
I do believe he has spirits there. Now, I do know that they did find that Native American skeleton in there with a part of the horse that's down in the part of the house that's never been finished with all the dirt.
Mhm.
That part I do believe. But it's really hard for me to believe that those people that died at 150 CLO Drive have anything to do with a house that's way down here.
I feel that way about some locations.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, without me being there, I can't speculate whether
Yeah.
it is or is not.
Well, let me put it to you this way. There's another YouTuber. Is it okay to say their names
Sure.
so the videos can be found?
Sure.
It's called the Paranormal Files.
Okay.
Now, Colin did a whole Manson family thing,
Okay.
and he goes, and what he's doing is he's going by the false testimony of Barbara Hoyt. We know Barbara lied when they found Shorty Shay's body. She lied on stand. We know she lied about the hamburger business, being fed a hamburger, because everybody at Spawn Ranch was vegetarians. Everybody, even to the day they died, they were still vegetarians. So why would three vegetarians be cooking another vegetarian a hamburger? Makes no sense.
Well,
Nope.
No,
It
but
could be one of
that
those. It
still-
could be
that
one of those
still
hamburgers
doesn't-
you get from Burger King. That's supposed to be
That's right. That's right. It could
But
be
it was
a veggie burger.
1969.
Morning
A veggie
Star.
burger.
What do they call it? Morning Star, whatever it's called. The hamburgers. That's all
But-
vegetables.
The Impossible Burger.
But back
That's
to
it.
Colin's video. Now he's going by the testimony of Barbara Hoyt. Barbara Hoyt was asleep in a trailer 3 miles away. Okay, and if you've ever seen the photos of Spawn Ranch, you
Mhm.
know that there are hills there,
Yes.
and sound does echo.
Sure.
But Barbara testified that Shorty Shay's body was found over here in the underpass. But that's not true. Steve Grogan Clem, who was the actual killer of Shorty Shay, struck a deal in the late 70s, and I've got the news footage going to come out on my channel, where they found Shorty's body, and it 5 miles away from where this is at.
Okay.
So there's just, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but like Howard said earlier, spirits can travel. They're
Mhm.
not stuck to, latitude, longitude, exact places. That they can move. So
Let me ask you this.
for whatever reason, it potentially it could be them. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it is. I'm not gonna say
Right,
it isn't because I've never been there.
right.
I'm just saying that it is possible that those spirits are there, and whether we can say affirmatively or negatively, I think that you have to be open-minded that spirits don't reside in one exact location.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But in
Unless
David's
it's a
case,
residual haunt. And if it's a
Could there-
residual haunt, but
could
that's a
there
different thing.
be a tie to that area that didn't have to do with Sharon Tate's house? We don't know that. I mean, we weren't there with them. We can't-
no, but the thing about that is, if you look at the aerial footage, there's nothing there. It's just woods. It's just woods on the side, because the Tate residence is right on the cliff. Like, she had no front yard. She could
Right.
walk 25 feet and fall off the cliff.
Okay.
And everything that was on this side before they started clearing it out. And the most recent house is the one that's closest to the gate that's shown in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's no house on the other side. That was done from a stage.
Okay.
But Dave, when they're driving, okay, if you're watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you know the scene where they're coming down from Cielo Drive and they're going to the Playboy Mansion.
yes.
David Oman's house is more closer to the end of Cielo Drive than it is the Tate residence, to put it that way, because Cielo Drive's not very long.
Is there other houses in between?
Yeah, you can see them in the movie.
So
I just want to say this though: whatever you see in a movie, people, 99% of it's not real.
Right.
I mean,
But
even when they say it's based on a true story, it's based on a true story. They still going to
Well-
fabricate what they want to fabricate in a story.
But I mean, I haven't seen all these movies. Some of them, yes. And have I seen them recently? No. But
Once Upon a Time, it is filmed where they're coming up and down the road and stuff. It is on the actual Cielo Drive.
okay.
That is
was-
true. So when you see Roman and Sharon pulling out and they close the gate, or when they're going in, that gate, that is not the original gate to the house, because that gate belongs to the mega mansion that's built there now, and it's actually for sale. The creator of Full House bought the property and had the original house tore down. And that house sits on in fact, if you do an aerial view of that, you'll see it where that mansion is, all the way to where David's house is. I mean, it's literally a curve and then a line. I mean, there's a good distance there.
Good lord.
So is there even a house? Okay, I've never watched it. Sorry. Is there even a house that's built where her original house was?
Yes. It's a big mansion.
Okay, and so has anybody investigated that, or have they even talked about having
He won't.
paranormal?
Well, like I said, it belongs to the creator of the TV show Full House. So, he's going to want his privacy. But
Oh, absolutely.
that house is built in the exact location where the Tate residence was.
So if anything, yes, I believe the spirits can travel.
Oh, yeah, I believe that too.
I believe that. But you would think they'd be more attached to the mansion.
Than
Because of-
David Oatman's house, which is further away. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because
That-
the
I
murders-
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I know David. David's a really nice guy, and I've known people who went and investigated his house, and they've gotten photos and things of Sharon walking through there. Both her being just normal as an apparitions, her being in a normal without being pregnant and being pregnant.
What would have drawn her to that location?
yeah, that's what I
I'm
don't
confused.
understand. That's what I don't
It
understand.
could be a portal there. It could be something. It could be lately.
Well, I mean-
stone up.
I'm
It
trying
could
to
be-
plan. I'm trying to plan a trip up there to get Emmy and Patty to go with me and take them to these locations, and they would actually see how far of a distance it is from where the Tate house was.
Right.
In fact, I was able to sneak in over on the mansion side by going by the same route that Tex and them took to get to the Tate house.
Raymond, I'm not being mean to him. We are discussing this topic.
Raymond?
Yes,
And
he's
I
not
don't
being-
Yeah,
think
Raymond.
everybody needed to hear that. Howard?
Hey, yeah, and I agree about spirits moving. I mean, just last night, me and Michael Jackson were moonwalking up and down on the floor in here. I'm just saying. And
I don't
we were
believe
like,
that. I believe he's still alive.
you know, we were just singing.
Agreements with
Just
Emmy.
saying.
The murder took place on the property, not
Right.
Right.
there would be more of an attachment to where the mansion stands than there is way down here to David Oatman's house.
That there's
what I
probably more of attachment
Like-
to the property itself.
What I was saying to Jason is, who's to say that back in that time that they didn't take hikes and hit acid and
So-
go for walks in the woods? I mean, spirits will funnel to places usually of good memory, not bad.
Well, that and they would have to be extremely careful to not fall off the cliff. So if they took a hike, I mean, you could
I just sent you a picture there, Chrissy, of the house.
of
What was
1969,
there, the mansion or that guy's house first?
huh?
Okay, so between the mansion and the owner of that other house, I'm not even paying attention to names, but
David Oatman,
yes. What was built first, the mansion or his house?
the mansion. He was in the process of the Tate house. The last time it was rented out was in the 1990s, and that was to Nine Inch Nails. Trent Reznor took the front door of the house because as soon as they finished recording their album, The Downward Spiral, it was going to be demolished. And Trent Reznor took the front door, which still had Sharon's blood stained on it. So the
And
downward
guess where that door is at? Guess where that door is at? Tell them where that door
New
is at.
Orleans. It's in storage
My
in New
other
Orleans.
question is, before I forget,
Yeah.
so you said the mansion was built first,
Yes.
right?
It was built.
Is being in the process of being built. So a lot of times when something's being built, it disturbs stuff, right? And spirits will come out more.
Now
But
see,
maybe,
now see, if you'll look, you'll see that empty spot there. That is where David's house is.
right?
And that is
You guys being demonologists couldn't,
Wait a minute.
because they were having issues in the house. Maybe they had somebody come in, like a priest or something like that, and cleanse the house. And
there's
actually
two
work.
houses. Well, before I forget, Emmy, right there, that gap. There's two houses that are built right there now.
What gap are we talking about?
Okay, you see the two houses?
Yeah,
are
in
on the side.
in the middle.
Yes, that gap right there in the middle. There's two houses built there now, and one of them's David's. And you can see, you can't really see it, but if you zoom in, you can see where the corner part of the Tate residence is.
Well, it's zoomed in all the way. So where are we talking about?
Right
You're
there,
talking about
right
right
there.
here.
Right,
Okay, so David Oman's house was right here.
right.
Where was Sharon Tate's?
Further back to the top corner. That's not the house. That is actually the garage right there. The house is further on around the curve.
Okay, so further around what? Down here? Or
Yeah,
up further?
You go down that way, go right where you're at, and then
Okay.
it curves.
Right, I see the curve.
Okay,
And
Right.
the house is further around that curve.
possibly around here. Or
It's further
no?
back than that. That right there is that's the garage.
So
That's
is
where the
this
valet
house?
lived.
Okay.
No,
this
go
the house?
where the garage is at. just keep going like you're going to you see those two trees where your pointer's at?
Yeah.
Go around the mountain.
Just go around a curve.
So we don't have a photo of that.
You can look at, well, you know what? I think there is one in Helter Skelter.
They'll be going around the mountain when they
There's the
come.
Biancas.
By the way, I love you, Joanne.
Yeah, okay. What you can't see is, if you can see it, get it up here. The house is further back. There's the garage. That's the gas. That's where Stephen Garrison lived, the caretaker.
Okay.
Right. Well, shit.
Yeah, I can see it.
Right there's the house. It's literally on the cliff. She had no front yard.
I see it.
The house is further back than his house. He literally had a whole curve there because I have an aunt that lived on Miller Drive. And where Miller Drive is at, you can look right on her balcony into like literally the front door of the Tate residence.
Well, and I was just trying to get a geographic what type of distance we're talking.
It's a good distance. Like if I can get Emmy and Patty there, it'll take a good 10 minutes to walk to where the house was at.
I was going to say probably about a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
From the looks
The
of it.
drive. Yeah, because the house where the gate is at, you can actually, in the picture that was posted, you see where the original gate was at, but it curved around to the front. And once it curved around to the front, her, like I said, she could walk out the front door and take 25 steps and fall off the cliff.
So there was no hiking in the backyard.
No, she had no backyard because the trees, the side, right. If you look at
the mansion was built, do you think, or somebody came in and cleansed that mansion because maybe they were having paranormal activity and they didn't know what it was? It was enough to scare them.
Well, Trent Reznor
cleansed them, and they could have moved on down the road.
Trent Reznor has stated in interviews they never felt anything there, and he lived there for like 8 months before it was tore down. He never felt anything, any kind of presence there. And the recording studio was in the living room. And like I said, he took the front door the day they moved out. It was going to be demolished, and you can actually find pictures of where they're taking it down level by level. But the day he moved out, he took the front door with him because it still had Sharon's blood stained on it.
That is crazy. I mean,
and the down.
Can't blame the guy. Yeah.
When that came out. I want to think it came out when I was in high school.
And he said Trent Reznor, so lead singer of Nine Inch Nails, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome, man. I don't mean to laugh, but he's like, hey.
There's video. They filmed the video inside the house. In fact, the only thing that exists of what the inside of the house looks like is what Trent Reznor filmed when they were living there, recording the Downward Spiral. And I think that came out. The mansion was looking at the year of this.
There's a couple of questions in chat. Do you have the address? And somebody else.
The relevance of the front yard, Gabe, is because we were talking about how they were tripping on acid and smoking pot, and I had suggested that maybe they went on a walkabout while.
Yeah, I mean, they would if they were tripping on acid and they went for a walk. There was they had to be extremely careful.
There's a fall right there.
Yeah. And the Downward Spiral, the last time the house was lived in was in 1994.
I sent you some, Chrissy, so you'll be able to see it a little bit better. Sorry about that, people.
Well, is he okay? So Northwest Paranormal Research. Are you talking about which address? The main house or?
The address has been changed, but when Sharon Tate and Trent Reznor and them, because like the house itself was owned by Rudy Artabelli. Now he was a big time Hollywood manager. He owned the house. He rented it out to Terry Melcher. He rented it out to the Tate, Roman, and Sharon. After the murders, I can't think of her name, but she was in that 1970 movie Romeo and Juliet. She's an Argentine actress. She lived there. In fact, when she moved in, they were still cleaning the blood out of the floors. And she never felt any presence there. She said it was always calm. And
again, spirits don't always connect to everybody that's around. We all know
That-
that.
I mean, I agree with that. I just
For
have a
many
hard.
people who's ever been on a paranormal investigation, 1 out of 10 in a group can feel something, and the other 9 don't feel nothing.
Yeah, but it's just
So-
it's the location itself that throws me off.
It's 10, what, 10500 Salio
Yeah.
Drive.
That was the original
That's
address.
the original address. And I sent some photos to Chrissy.
Hang on, I'm
So she
working
can-
on pulling them up.
If you
And
if
is
you
it
do
in a
it,
gated community now too?
kind of sort of like you could if you can actually park where Linda Kasabian parked the car that night. Yeah, see how far back it is?
I'm assuming this is her house. Sharon.
Yes. Yes, that's the Tate residence.
Okay. So we back it up. What was that other one you sent, Howard? Was that just the same view?
That's a different view.
Because there's the swimming pool. You can see how far away the swimming pool is from the house. And
Right.
then if you come a little bit closer, that's where the garage was at. And that mansion is literally sitting in the spot where that house was at.
Okay. So which direction, by looking at this photo, left or right, are we going to get to the Omen house?
Left.
Okay.
I got another picture that I just sent you that might help.
Okay, I see the corner up there. That
Okay, so is this the Omen house then? Or what is this?
That's
I can't-
Sharon, that's Sharon Tate's house.
No, that's not Sharon's house.
No,
Can't
that's-
be.
That's not the Tate
Like-
residence. The Tate's was a colonial house. That was the residence that you shown the first
And
time. It looked
look how close those houses are. Her house is twice that size.
yeah.
That last
And
one,
there ain't no pool.
that last one I have on there, Chrissy.
This one.
Yes, that's the Tate
I
residence.
just sent you. I sent you another one.
Okay.
Because there's the house that's at the bottom that heard the
I was gonna
gunshot.
say, is that a house at the bottom?
Yeah, that's the house that when they heard
And
the
a swimming
gunshots,
pool.
but they didn't know where it was coming from.
down here.
Ah,
So you can see she technically didn't have a front yard.
right. Dude, that would be a fall too. Good lord.
I gotta stop sharing to pull the other photo he sent.
Yeah, I got a couple of them I sent to you.
Don't show them dirty ones.
I don't know.
who are
what
you talking to?
My
Northwest.
midget porn.
Do you have
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that. might see me on it.
albino? Remember, it was albino.
Okay. So I guess let's see.
Now let me. Can I show an image?
Sure.
Sure.
Because I've got a. How do I do this?
Oh, you can't send it to me. Do you have like a photo or something?
Yeah, it's
You
like
can send it to me and I can send it to you.
Send it to Howard or send it to me.
okay. I'm gonna. This is like the. Let me screenshot it, and then I'll send it to Howard, because this is like the exact. And it doesn't show David. It doesn't show David's house, but this is the exact police view in 1969, the aerial view.
Okay.
And you'll see how long that driveway is.
Okay. Well, are you sending that to me, Howard?
I'm waiting to get it.
Yeah, I'm sending it, fixing to send it to him right now.
Golly, you gotta chill out, girl.
Sending that.
Man.
So how you feeling, Scotty? While they're doing all that?
I'm all right now. They ain't poking me.
Nikki's also sending me stuff too. So this is a good picture.
Do they have an idea when you're going to get out?
Hopefully tomorrow.
Okay. Here's what.
Many prayers for you, man.
Thank you.
If it'll load, my messenger's slow on Facebook.
Well, this is what Howard had found. So
Let me
are we
look at it.
saying this is the tape?
No,
record?
this one's about the one that I've got is the actual police view of 1969. You see the original gates, you see where everything is. All right, it's fixing to send to you, Howard.
All right.
Maybe.
I about jumped on my bed today. They should give me a shot in my stomach. That's some bullshit.
This is the actual view from the Helter Skelter book. It should have sent by now, Howard.
Got it. That's the one I just posted. I just sent you, Chrissy.
it?
Yeah, I just sent that one to Chrissy. Same one.
Now his house is further up the road.
Amy, how are you guys doing? Everybody feeling okay over there?
All doing good. Doing good.
Okay.
Jackie, Mama, you being quiet. Smack the hell out of hell, or tell Chrissy to be quiet and be nice.
Scotty,
Oh, there she is.
you gonna need the hospital if you don't freaking behave.
Now, in that picture that Howard posted, that's of the police view, that little house that you see, it's got the arrow over it that's outside the Tate resident, it's no longer there. That was the Cott house.
Okay.
The owners were the Cotts.
I don't know if this is the one you're talking about.
It's a black and white aerial view with red writing and stuff. Yes. Okay, right here you'll see 170 Cielo Drive.
Yep.
That's the Cott house. His house is further back past that house, coming towards.
Okay.
Now, if you'll look, you'll see the arrow pointing to the gate. And you'll see how it curves all the way around. Her
Yep.
house is literally right on the cliff.
I got you.
And you'll see the rest of the property there. This is the actual police view from 1969 from the aerial footage. Because right there is Stephen Parent's car, that very first car.
Right.
Gotcha.
So
That
his
was-
property is nowhere near the Tate residence.
That was a tall cop that took that picture.
His house is further where I hear where it's like I said where it says 170 Cielo Drive. That was the
Yeah.
Cott residence. His house is like 6 houses back towards where you turn into Cielo Drive,
I got you.
and you can
So
see
yeah,
right
it's like
there.
a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, and you can see the original gate right there.
But are we saying
Right.
that- are we-
Now, since the Cott house has been removed, that's where the gate is at.
so are we saying that they knew nobody or never visited anybody in that general vicinity of where the
The only time they left, if you go by their accounts of Doris Tate, Deborah Tate, and Patty Tate, they had people always coming to the house. Roman wasn't even there. He was in London. Sharon had become more pregnant. He was repulsed. He had tried to talk her into several abortions, and he went to London. It was just Sharon. The only one that was the people that were there were Sharon, Abigail, Wojciech, and Jay Sebring when he would visit.
I got you.
There were 3 places in the late 60s and 70s to be that were party houses: the Tate Polanski residence, Coven House, and the Hyatt House.
You can send that to Chrissy.
What?
The floor
Northwest
plan.
Floor plans. I think I had it.
Yeah, and another thing too is in the floor plan of the Tate house, I found it kind of weird that the master bedroom, of course, that would be Sharon and Roman's room, but you had to cross through 6 rooms to get to the nursery.
Dang.
Because when the police, that's the way they had it planned. They were having the nursery on the other side of the house in the very back. That might have been
Did
because
they
of
have a
work.
nanny, or were they looking for a potential nanny? Maybe
They weren't going to stay there long, actually, because Sharon didn't like the house. They were originally going to live in Patty Duke's house. Patty Duke was going through a divorce because, Sharon had starred in the Valley of the Dolls with Patty. She was going through a divorce, and Roman didn't want to pay the money that was the court had ordered for that house. So they settled for that one, and they were actually going to swap houses because she wanted a much bigger house.
Okay.
She wanted a house that was closer to Jay Sebring's house.
And where was his house at again?
Laurel Canyon,
So it was away from there.
10
Away
minutes.
from- Okay.
Because see, once you get out there, all of those roads are all connected. Like you got CLO, then you got Miller Drive. Like I said, where my family member's house was at, you could look right out her balcony. You go up on that side of the hill and right onto the Tate residence. You could look right at their front door.
Howard hit share.
That's the La Biancas. And
So-
did you know that house was only 2-bedroom?
Is this a crime scene photo?
Yes, that's the La Biancas. that house was previously, before the La Biancas moved in, it was owned by Walt Disney.
Interesting.
I think I got the one that's the floor plans. I'm gonna send to you now, Chrissy.
Yeah, I'll show you if it's the floor plans of the Tate residence, I'll show you exactly where the nursery was going to be at.
I got another one here.
Because that's the room that Tex Watson went in.
Okay. Oh, it's pretty grainy.
Yeah, that's the way it is in the. Okay, here's another one. This is another floor plan of it.
Okay, there's the first one you sent.
Okay. Now you see right there where it says the porch. You got the front of the house. You see where it says I can make it out. I know where it's at. You see the largest room there. That's the master bedroom. That's in the top left corner.
Top left here.
Yes, that's the master bedroom.
Okay.
To get to the nursery, you would have to cross through the master bedroom, down that hallway, across the dining room, the living room, because right there's the front porch. Go through that hallway, cross that bedroom right there, then the next room, and then that first room that's right there is the nursery.
This or this?
Go back down.
Here?
It says bedroom.
I can't see that.
I can.
So the bottom right corner.
Right corner.
The bottom, yeah, right
Yes,
there.
that would be the nursery.
Gotcha.
Dang.
That's a ways. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
that's where the nursery was at. That's how much Roman detested that child.
Wow. That's really messed up.
Such a prick.
Okay.
Anyway, y'all, I'm going to jump off because the night med that they gave me before I came on is kicking in.
It's nice meeting you, Scotty.
Oh.
James, you too. I absolutely appreciate you so much. And the rest of you, I love you guys. So
Love you too, brother.
Love you too, Scotty.
I'll keep you updated. So
Bye.
hopefully tomorrow. All right. Night, y'all.
Have a good night.
Good night, brother. And that's another photo of that. It says that's
That's the La Bianca house.
Yeah. Is it? Because they had the first floor and the second floor, but they.
No, the Tate residence didn't have a second floor. It actually, right in the living room, it had a loft. And in that loft, there was a room that was in the very far back corner. And that room is where they found all of the tapes.
Wow.
And I'll just say the bondage kink stuff that Dennis Hopper had found, that mentioned rather. And I do now. There's something that's always kind of stuck out in my mind, and of course, I never got around to asking this, but I do know that Sadie did know Mama Cass. I do know that because Mama Cass taught her how to make pot brownies. But I've always wondered if Sadie knew Abigail more than the free clinic that she volunteered at, because if you listen to Sadie's account of that night, she walks right up to Abigail's folder and smiles and waves, and Abigail puts her book down, smiles and waves right back. And Charlie has admitted to knowing Sharon Tate. He knew Sharon through Dennis Wilson, and when he found out that she was what happened, that was his explosion on text, because he did like Sharon. Sharon had some good stuff going on there.
So I got a question. Do you still keep in contact with some of these people that are still alive?
Absolutely.
With family? Really?
Absolutely. We're still family. In fact, like I said earlier, I said hi to two. They're in chat, but they're being silent.
Well, I know you were talking about there's one that lives over here in Oregon, and I guessed the town, but you still talk with her, right?
We have ways of checking in on her.
Okay.
Hit share, Howard.
And that is Yeah, that's the new house. His house is way down there, and way
Right
down
here?
there. Yeah, way down there, but it's
So
not as close as it looks. It's
this
really not.
this would have been the main house, right? Where
Right.
she lived.
Right.
You round the curve, and you've got these 4 houses there now.
Right. But it's really not as close as it looks.
No,
Because once you get past those 4 houses, you're at the end of Cielo Drive.
right. No, I understand what you're saying. I mean, pictures
Yeah.
are the perception is different.
His house is the one that's you see the one that's got kind of the yellow on top?
This one?
Yeah. His house is the one that's beside it.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
And they literally go right by his front door in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Got you.
And the gate is right there on the side of that house there at the end that's closest to the residence. That's where the new gate is put.
Are we talking
Right
about
there.
this
Right
house?
there. Yeah.
So this would be the gate potentially?
That's where the gate is at. Where the original gate is right down here, and it's exactly 150 feet away, right in that curve.
So somewhere here.
Right. There's an exact 150 feet distance from where the new gate is. The new gate is put up where the Cott residence used to be.
Got you. Okay.
But back to your question, Emmy. Yeah, as I said, we're back to Linda, and I know that's who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Linda, you guys don't know that Linda, before she even discovered Spawn Ranch, she had a long history of money theft, drug deals, all kinds of stuff. And in fact, I'd actually like to play a little clip, and I do have her permission to play it. It's from Lynette Squeaky talking about Linda, if that's okay.
Well,
Not my show, but sure.
I don't care. Yeah.
Because they never called the police pigs. They never called the police pigs. I don't know where, well, Bugliosi made it up. Linda was the one that called the police pigs. But guess what was printed on the front of Sharon Tate's door? In her blood.
Pig.
Exactly.
Come on, that was easy, people.
I didn't know we were going to have a trick question.
I got a message saying I could play it, so I'm getting it right now.
What's that? Tony says, you know John of HSFL. I know John. Dave Oman really thinks about him. I didn't know they met.
I've got to find it. I forgot about the audio, and I was reminded.
Wow. You had one job, James.
I know.
One. John has been to his house a few times. Oh, really? Okay, that I didn't know. And I knew John. I've met John myself. I didn't even know he went there. But he's no longer in the paranormal. Oh, you got some sexy girls going on in there. Sexy girls.
Okay, this is the conversation of of Squeaky talking about Linda. It's loading. It turned up.
Like 15 minutes. You are right. You know. And she was probably the meanest sounding girl on the whole ranch. She talked dirt, she talked shit against the cops, and she called them pigs. Well, I don't know, we just never got into that, any kind of name calling before. And people say that it was Charlie that called them pigs. We didn't call them pigs. We were not of the go-along crowd. But when we did say something, we meant it. So we didn't call the police pigs. Linda did. Right. And so I thought that was weird. I just thought she was one of these tough look at what do they say and what do they do.
It makes you wonder who really wrote the pigs on Sharon Tate's blower.
Well, I think somebody in chat had said earlier, do you think they could have been being set up? Where was that at?
That is a rabbit hole if you want to go down, if you want to read Tom O'Neill's book called, I don't really want to plug it, but it's called Chaos. I have practically every book on the subject because it concerns me. It's called Chaos.
This is what Angela, I didn't mean to cut you off. Angela said, so is it a possibility that there was another cult?
Yes.
In trying to set up Manson.
Yes. Now, I'm glad Angela brought that up. Vincent Bugliosi came up with the idea for Helter Skelter, and this doctrine is still out there for anybody to view. Just 5 miles away from Spawn Ranch was a cult called the Fountain of the World. Now, this cult, they tried to infiltrate Charlie's friends and Charlie, much like Scientology, this is too far out for me, man. No. Now, if you read their doctrine, they believed that a race war was going to take place in 1965. They would be hiding out in the desert under the growth number of 144,000. They would be taking the children to the desert to protect them from this race war. And the leader, his name was Krishna Ventna. And Bugliosi used what Ventna looked like to compare to Charlie when he claimed that Charlie claimed that he was Jesus Christ. You compare pictures of the two, and they're almost identical. Ventna's long hair and the fact that they both walked around barefoot. And see, another thing that the people don't know is, unless they were in the courtroom, it wasn't only the Beatles Bugliosi was after. There was a song by Donovan called Hurdy-Gurdy Man. And that song was written about Jimi Hendrix. But Bugliosi tried to imply that this is how Charlie was coming in with all of his followers, singing songs of love, all of this. But he contended that all of Charlie's music contained gore, death, violence, blood, all of that. If you've heard Charlie's music, it contains none of that.
Yeah, somebody in chat was saying it was some creepy music, but I've never heard it. I know my husband J-Mac has. Okay, I want to ask you this. How did you do a lot of research yourself, or how did you find out about a lot of this? And you're still finding out more stuff, but like, honestly, how did you find out?
I mean, that's kind of like a really...
You're like full of so much information. My head's like exploding right now trying to keep it.
Well, he's a family member.
I'm a cult member.
Yeah, but I mean, who did you get the info from? Like,
the info I got came from someone I know that passed away recently.
Okay. And then these other people that you did a shout out to.
And they were friends of this person, and you know, they attended her memorial. You know, they were devastated because they're still brothers and sisters. Now, when it comes to Bob,
like they say, it takes a tribe to raise a child, and so.
And now, when it comes to someone like Bobby,
when it
came to someone like Bobby or Sadie, or Lulu or Katie, they could not contact them because the system sees Bobby as Charlie. The system sees Sadie as Charlie. They see Katie as Charlie, and they see Lulu as Charlie. And Charlie's bad. Charlie's evil. So there's really no benefit there. I mean, it's like they have to go through middle people to even wish their brother or sister happy birthday, because there's no benefit of the so-called cult contacting these people when they're considered Charlie. Bobby recently celebrated his 74th birthday. Just found out, and I don't care anybody's opinion about Bobby, but and I'm gutted. I can't find out what's going on with Bobby. All we know is something happened. He had to have a lung removed, and because of our justice system, we can't find out if he's going to live or die. His own son can't find out things. And I was on the phone with Ivan yesterday when we found this out for 9 hours trying to find out what's wrong with Bobby. That's how our justice system is. Because he's Charlie. As far as the courts are concerned, he's Charlie. He can't
all who's involved in it is Charlie.
Exactly, and that's not right. That's not fair.
Well, I got some other things I'm going to post. I know there's some members in here that have witnessed this and all this, but these are crime scene photos, okay? And if you're weak stomach, I advise you to, come back in about 5 minutes, or just block it out for right now.
And I do have something to say about those crime scene photos when you post certain ones. These
are of Sharon Tate, an autopsy photo, and also the LaBiancas.
Leno and Rosemary.
Right.
But did you know that Susan LaBerge, their daughter, is actually, before she was murdered, was actually fighting for Texas release?
Well, here we go. Here's the first one. And there's Sharon.
Wojciech Frykowski, Sharon Tate, Stephen Parrott, Jay Sebring, and Abigail Folger.
Who's the heiress to the Folgers coffee
fortune.
I believe that's going to be the body of Sharon coming out.
It's either Sharon or Jay, because Abigail and Wojciech were outside.
So this is who?
I'm sorry.
That's Sharon Tate right there.
Yeah, okay. But the body is either it's either Jay or Sharon, because those two were inside while Wojciech and Abigail were on the front lawn.
Okay.
That would be Wojciech and Abigail.
And if you notice, there's 2 sheets there. These are, from back 1969.
August 8th, 1969.
Right. That's a body there.
Wojciech and Abigail.
That's inside the house. Is Sharon inside the living room?
Sharon was laying beside the sofa, and Jay was across from her. Yes, that's where Sharon's body was at.
Okay.
When Tex stabbed her, she fell into the floor.
And that's the
that is part of Sharon Tate's blood.
Right.
And there should be another photo, if you can find it, of the other side of the porch. That would be.
That's Sharon Tate's autopsy.
Yeah. See, you can see she was stabbed in the back, and Sadie noticed that Sharon was more cut up than she was when they left the house.
They get more graphic. I'm just letting everyone know.
I was gonna say, so if she was more cut up, so somebody was like, out for revenge or something.
That would be Linda.
Oh, okay.
There's the Abigail Folger.
Wow.
I think it's the LaBiancas, isn't it?
No, that's Abigail Folger.
Is it? Okay.
Abigail Folger looked at Tex Watson in her last moments and said, "I'm already dead." Her body had already died. And he just continued to keep stabbing her.
There should be one more, I think, after that.
Oh, sorry.
Wojciech Frykowski.
Yeah.
Wojciech was also what they consider a crime of passion, because he got the brunt of everything. He was pistol whipped. He was stabbed repeatedly. It was definitely because of Linda being burned, and it was Wojciech who burned her.
Well, I think that's on a paranormal level. I mean, as looking at it through as a paranormal investigator, that was a lot of blood spilled.
Now, when it comes,
that ground is saturated. the way I see
Right.
it.
That's why I say that it seems like that would be more of a attachment there. Now, as far as the Tate residence goes, some of that rubble would be buried under the mansion.
Well, attachment to the specific grounds would be more residual, and with what happened there, again,
I mean, a good example. I guess a good example. I guess we're trying to say to you, James, is like Skinwalker Ranch. It's not the ranch is haunted. Don't get me wrong. There's houses that have been abandoned, but it's the whole property, and it's not bordered because there's a fence line. The ghosts are not going to go up. Spirit's not going to go up to the fence line and say, "Oops, I can't cross it because there's a fence here." They're going to go right past that. They just venture out, and that's been since 1969. I mean, here we are in 2022. Getting ready to go into 2023. That's a long time for these spirits to be here and just to be, venturing out further and further.
I kind of want to add to the LaBiancas were actually more brutal than the Tate murders, the crime scene photos. What you guys don't see in the crime scene photo is Lino LaBianca, and there's a reason why Linda chose that house, and it's because she had lived at the True residence, which is where Charlie and them stayed for about a week. And this was after Lino and Rosemary moved in. Harold was out of the country, and Linda threw an acid party, and the acid party got out of control, and Lino called the police. So she had a grudge against that house. What you guys don't see in Lino LaBianca's crime scene photo, and it's not even, it's too graphic to even show publicly, is they literally tried to cut his head off with a butcher knife. He had a knife protruding from his neck. Rosemary was stabbed 19 times post-mortem. And I do support Lulu's release because Tex Watson has come forward over the years, and he's admitted that he forced Lulu to participate. If she didn't participate, he was going to slit her throat. But at the same time, back at the ranch, Lulu. So I'm kind of conflicted. Actually, it's contradictory in my part. Lulu was walking around having her own little song. We just kept stabbing and stabbing and stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Katie, the night of the Tate murders, her remark was, "That's 5 people of the Hollywood big wheel machine that's not polluting the environment." Katie, on the night of the LaBianca murders, well, the only thing that was going through my mind was, this is a man who's not going to send his child off to war.
Right.
See, these are things that y'all don't know that they were saying behind the scenes.
Now there was something that was supposed to be that they said that she said this to. I believe it was either, I think it was Sharon. I think we were talking about, and
Yes.
she didn't say it, but she was
He
thinking
didn't say it to Sharon, but it's been twisted. Sadie did not have it. Okay, now you have to understand that Sadie knew Tex had already told them what they were going to do, so she went and she snorted a bunch of cocaine. She and Tex had their own little jars hidden all over Spawn Ranch, under the porch, all this stuff. Charlie did not allow speed there. It's one drug he did not like was speed. And if speed was there, they would have been gone if he would have known it. Sadie admitted to snorting like a ton of cocaine, and so did Tex. And when Sadie's starting to come down, she said to herself, and she said it, she did not say it to Sharon Tate, but it's been twisted. Sadie said to herself, "Look, bitch, you're going to die tonight, and I don't feel the thing behind it." She knew that if she killed Sharon Tate, she's killing a part of herself. That's why she created a diversion and made it look like Sharon was fighting, and then Tex came along and stabbed her in the heart.
So how do we know that she was talking to herself?
She specifically stated she was talking to herself. This got twisted by Vincent Bugliosi, just like it was twisted from Virginia Graham, who was Sadie's cellmate. Virginia Graham testified under oath that Sadie told her that she tasted Sharon Tate's blood. That never happened. There was a lot of hearsay that was permitted in the hearings compared to the truth.
Well,
Sadie did say that in her mind. She didn't say it to Sharon.
Like Gabriel just said, wait, I thought you said Charlie was not the leader.
He wasn't the leader. So I'm not sure what he means. Hi, Ghost Tracers. Because you have to remember there's Charlie and Charles Tex Watson. Could he elaborate on that more?
Gabe, can you elaborate on that a little bit better? Tell us what you're talking about. Put up some pictures. That's what I read best, pictures.
That's true, Vicky. A lot of it was embellished.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's always Sharon Tate. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm just saying this. Any murder is horrible.
Then how can he make her leave? That's what he's saying. Then how can he make her leave?
Because Charlie didn't allow, so he didn't like speed. That's just something. It's not a leader. It's just like, I don't want that around me. I don't want this around my friends.
Right.
That's not saying I'm a leader. He sent Tex on the road several times, but Tex always came back. Charlie was very rarely there, so he didn't even know that the speed was there. The cocaine was there. But that doesn't make him a leader. That's the same thing as saying I invite somebody in my house and I find out they got meth in them. Get out.
And then he's saying right here, but he was in charge if he could tell her to leave. Well, no, it's just like one friend telling another one, I just don't want that shit around me.
That's what I just said. If somebody comes in my house, and I've got friends here too, and this person has meth, get the fuck out of my house. I don't want that shit around me. I don't want that shit around my friends. That doesn't make me a leader of anything.
No.
I'm looking out for myself, and I'm looking out for my friends.
It's just like me and Jackie. I tell her to leave all the time, and she's still here. I mean, it doesn't work.
I cannot. Behave. Shit fire. Jackie, you need to smack him when we get off the podcast.
Yeah.
Fight the man, Howard. Fight the man.
You better shut up.
He sent Tex Watson on the road several times because Tex was Charles Denton Watson, a troublemaker.
He said that's who's in charge if you're in a communal environment.
No, it's not, because I mean, if
you're in a communal environment, you don't have to be in charge. If I'm in a communal environment and say, I tell someone just because I don't want it around me, to just get that shit away from me. That's what he was basically telling them.
I mean, this is kind of, I mean, I'm not saying it's just like twisting it, trying to fit the Bugliosi agenda. This is what this is. I mean, that's basically what it is. Charlie was not there as much as people think he was. And if he known, like I said, okay, all five of us on panel, and say someone else comes in, some random person we pull up, and they're sitting there smoking some meth. What are we going to say?
Share that
Fuck
shit.
out of here.
Well, I'm with Amy. Get the hell out of here.
What?
Get the fuck out of here. Hey, GT.
But I understand what you're saying. I do. It's just a misconception. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's coming in my house with something I don't like, with my friends around and with me, get the fuck out of here.
I can honestly say too, like, let's say I'm at a friend's house.
Okay, that's what he's saying. He
if-
said, "No, I'm
if
just trying to
somebody
point
comes
out what
into that
feels like a
house,
discrepancy."
I would probably help stand up for the owner of the house. I'd be like, hey, you know what? She don't want that here. Especially some people don't say anything. So they would have a more, I want to say like a dominant friend or whatever you want to call it, would say, hey, you need to leave, you know, because some people don't have it in them to actually be that, what's that word I'm
Right.
looking for?
I mean, it sounds like a discrepancy, but it's not. It's really not. It's looking out for yourself. You have children there. These jars were hidden like under the steps of the Rock City Cafe. They were under the wood. I mean, these kids are running around, and they could get a hold of it. I mean, the place was not as plentiful with drugs as people assume.
Well, I mean, if they were doing acid, I mean, we don't even know where their mindset was.
Yeah.
The acid trips were not as frequent as people think. And when they would do the acid trips, Lulu or Katie would all stay with the kids. Not everybody participated in acid trips. Like I said, Linda Kasabian mentioned maybe 2 the whole time she was there.
That she partook in.
Well, she was there. She lived there she arrived on July the 4th, 1969, and the Tate murders took place August the 8th, 1969.
So she was only there a couple months.
Exactly. A month and a few days.
Okay.
So if it were as like Bugliosi and other people think, they would have been dropping acid every day.
Well, we got about 4 more minutes left, and I just want to say this before we end the show and anything. James, it was a pleasure talking with you. Very knowledgeable. I'll invite you to come back if you ever want to come back.
Oh, absolutely.
And then anybody else, that's in the family, the Manson family, you can contact James. And if y'all want to come on with James or whatever, we could do that. We can set something up if you want to, tell us your side and tell us what what happened, that way it gets out there, the truth's out there instead of all this,
No member of the so-called. There was a few testimonies. In fact, I'm gonna before you close it out, I kind of want to read one of someone that's close to me. I've got to pull it up. I actually had to go through and screenshot it, so I'm looking. So just bear with me.
Keep talking, Howard. Keep talking.
Well, anyway,
I've got like because Emmy knows of a project I'm working on, so it's requiring a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're through with your project, you're more than welcome to come back and present that too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy to promote and do what we have to do.
Where did it go?
I'll go get his channel and drop his link too. I can't drop his link. Jay, you're the only mod. You gotta go drop his link.
Drop his link, Jay.
Damn it, Jay.
Put the snake down. Put the snake down.
I've got it here. Trust me, I'm trying to find it, and I'm not trying to hold everybody up. But I should have had this pulled up earlier.
But tomorrow night on the Petri Dish, we're going to have Miss Anna Brandy Mart that's going to come on. She is a radio show host for Messages from the Afterlife.
I've got it.
And owner of the Spell Candle Shop.
Okay, this is the testimony that I wanted to read from the little bit that just a few things that she got to say when she was called. But I want you guys to realize that once Vincent Bugliosi realized that these people were coming in and they were testifying to the truth and to Charlie, everybody else was listed as a witness, and that's why all of the girls and some of the guys were hanging out outside the courthouse. They were waiting to be called in to testify. But this is a testimony. Irving Kernack. Did Miss Linda Kasabian ask you to go to the Tate residence? I'm not naming any names. No, she didn't ask me to go to the Tate residence. She asked me to go out and do some killing. Question. I'll skip that part and I'll just get to this one. It's another part of the statement. Linda Kasabian overheard our conversation that Bobby Beausoleil had been arrested for the death of Gary Hinman. She said, I'd do anything to get my brother out of jail. I know some people in Beverly Hills that burned me on a drug buy. You can make it. Hinman's murder. Sorry, it's just kind of emotional reading it. Look like somebody else did it. If you copycat the murders, we can make more of the same. They'll cut Bobby loose.
It makes you speechless.
Get out of my head. I was just going to say that, but
And the next time, Howard, I'll actually pull up some of Linda's testimony and show you how it contradicts how she was pulling the strings in the courtroom. Oh, I'm tired. I can't answer any more of your questions, even though she just answered the question before it, and that she didn't know how to answer it when it was reworded because Bugliosi wasn't able to coach her.
And then let's see, Friday on the Holy Trinity, it's going to be the regular train wreck, people. I'm just letting you know now. If you want some vulgar, yeah, just watch that show. And then next week on a Paranormal Swamp Talk, we will not be having a Paranormal Swamp Talk. I had a question up there, Nikki asked, Howard, what movie are you doing? I'm not doing a movie. Actually, I'm going to be doing a show, on a show. It's on the CW, and it's called Winchesters. So I don't know what the hell that, I've never seen it. So, I mean, I'm going to look it up and try to find what it's about. Someone told me it's like the paranormal and a bunch of stuff. I don't know. So we'll find out, figure that out when I get there, I guess. But tomorrow morning, I got to go get fitted and COVID tested. So, Jackie, you sleeping in the shed tonight. Yeah, that ain't going to work.
I can't wait till Chrissy moves closer to you guys because I'm ready to watch this fight go on. She's going to smack you around.
She can come over and smack me around, and I'm going to be sneaking by her window when she's in her bedroom with Jason.
Oh.
I'll put it all out there.
Peeping Howard. He's going to get an OnlyFans.
It's called Winchester. Not Winchester House. Winchester. It's on the CW, whatever that is. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
I'll put it all out there.
Peeping Howard.
And James, you got one more thing you want to promote that book one more time that you want to show people?
If people want to actually learn about the Charles Manson that you were not seen in the media, that was not shown in the media or in the trial, you can buy this at any bookstore. I mean, it's even at Walmart. It's by Squeaky, also known as Red, Lynette Fromey. And you get a look. Now, I want to say that when Squeaky wrote this book, she started in 1968 when she met Charlie. And when she was arrested in 1975, she lost a lot of her journals. So there's pieces in here that are missing, but it's actually like reading the diary of a little girl. And this is practically the only woman that Charlie ever loved, but he was so afraid to tell her that he loved her.
And you still keep in contact with her, right?
I love Red.
Okay, so you do talk to her.
I love Red. You know, she was arrested for the failed assassination of President Ford, but she was a Manson girl, so she was convicted, even though the woman who did it tried to do it after her, there was no recognition. It was focused on Squeaky because, it's Squeaky, Red. But yeah, Lynette Fromey's book.
She needs to send me a copy of that autographed. I'll take it. I'd like to read that.
It's and the thing is, each page is done on 100% recycled paper, so there was no harming of trees. She designed the cover, and there's actually photos. Like I said, there's no pictures on it, but you've got photos on here that you've never seen, like this one of the motorcycle. This motorcycle was given to Charlie by Neil Young.
Wow.
This photo of Charlie when the crow landed on his arm at the ranch. And there's
so it shows you a whole different, another side of him.
Yeah, you see, you see what Charlie is like as a human being.
Right.
Like his love for life, his love for his friends, his family. You see him as an actual human being and not the monster that Bugliosi and the media created. But Lynette's book, it's actually really cheap. I think it's just $17 even at Walmart online.
I want an autograph copy.
Well, she's got a second edition that's coming out soon through Hall Press. That's the publisher. Now, the second edition, she did say that Blue, Sandra Good, was actually able to find some of those other journals that were missing when she was arrested. And another thing about the book is you'll come across these little colored sections. Of course, each year's 68, 69, each thing is, but you'll come off these little darker sections like right here. And this is an actual typed up letter between her and Charlie.
And can you find this on Amazon or
Amazon, goodbyehelterskelter.com.
Is it only in the
Walmart,
USA or is it worldwide?
worldwide.
Okay.
If you go to my channel and you'll see that there's a video there of the girls talking about a book. They already have a book, but nobody was wanting it because everybody was going by what the media perceived them to be. This is the book.
awesome?
But
I'll be waiting for my autographed copy.
She's got some more coming out soon, second edition, so maybe I can get you one.
Hey, if he gets an autograph copy,
Mine's
I
autographed.
don't read, so I want an autograph. I just want an autograph.
Mine's
And
autographed.
And Matt, if you're still out there, we're waiting on them. Shit, what are those flashlights?
Maglite.
Maglite, yes. That's
I'm
it.
waiting on my Maglite. I'm waiting on my Starbucks cards. I'm waiting on all this shit. And you called my number out on one of you saying balls, balls, balls. I said, that's my number. And nobody pulled it.
And
You know that woman next to me over here? She would kill for Starbucks. She'll kill for coffee. I mean, I'm just letting you know now.
Why are you still alive?
Because I give it to her. I just throw a pack at her or something like that.
Okay.
I throw a bunch of change at her. Throw some change. Go buy you something.
So Jay's been dropping James's, or Jay McOregan's been dropping James's YouTube link out there, and you have phone recordings and stuff like that on your YouTube channel, right?
oh yeah, and I'm actually going to upload like a whole maybe 2-hour conversation with
For
Charlie.
people out there, youtube.com/@James Dawson. And that should take you right to it.
Gabe.
All right, guys. Well, I thank y'all for coming on tonight. Thank you, Emmy. Thank you very much, Mr. Dawson, for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Both of my wives, my podcast wife and my home wife, for coming on tonight. And we'll see y'all tomorrow night. If y'all tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock, same channel, same bat station. 8 o'clock Central, and catch us on the Petri dish with me and Emmy. We're two of us, and Matt, and yeah, it's a messed up show. I'm gonna tell you that now.
Yeah, I'd love to be back, and we can, elaborate a lot more on things too.
Yeah, I'd love that. Love that. We'll keep in touch. Trust me, we'll keep in touch.
He just likes
keep in
new
touch with-
friends. That's it.
I do.
While we're at it, before we head out, I think I'll just, if you don't mind,
Go
one
ahead.
more thing, just for your viewers.
Sure.
I will play a voice recording from Blue, Sandy Good, about the murders, if that's okay.
But
Ooh, a little teaser.
a little teaser for you.
Yep.
So I might schedule it in 2 weeks and come back in 2 weeks or something. That's if Chrissy's got anything going on. That's if she didn't come back from screwing around with Jason over there.
All right.
I'm just saying.
This is Blue. This is Blue from a phone conversation. This is Sandra Good.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Cliffhanger. Next time.
All right, people. Well, I thank y'all for coming on, and we will see y'all 2 weeks on this show. So stay safe, and y'all have a great day or great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
gonna run away from you.